Welcome back to The Explainer. So, we are diving straight into some seriously transformative astrological shifts happening this week, specifically June 21st through the 27th, 2026. From the summer solstice to some, let's just say, complex midweek planetary math, we're going to figure out the exact why behind the energetic shifts you are absolutely about to feel. Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap. We're starting with the big picture, the summer solstice energy, followed by those midweek planetary transits. Then we'll break down the specific forecasts for the fire, earth, air, and water signs.
First up, the summer solstice energy grounding into Cancer season.
All right, as the sun makes its grand entry into Cancer, it immediately highlights our emotional roots and this really deep need for internal security and belonging. But get this, at the exact same time, Venus has just moved into Leo, and this pumps intense warmth, generosity, and, well, let's be honest, some beautiful, unavoidable drama right into our relationships. So we're literally balancing a deep craving to just retreat to our safe, cozy spaces with a very loud demand for grand public gestures in our love lives. It is a completely fascinating dynamic to kick things off. Moving on to the midweek planetary transits, navigating the cosmic weather. Because you see, that grounding solstice energy doesn't just operate in a vacuum. The cosmic timeline really builds this week. We kick things off on Sunday, June 21st, not just with the solstice, but with a first quarter moon in Libra, which is this huge push for balance and decisive action in our relationships. Then, boom, Wednesday the 24th brings a Sun-Uranus sextile. This is great, offering positive surprises and a real chance to break out of any ruts with some innovative ideas. Thursday brings the Venus-Saturn trine, beautifully grounding our relationships. But then, by Friday the 26th, a Sun-Pluto quincunx demands some deep adjustments to how we handle power and control. And finally, gearing up for Sunday the 28th, Mars actually leaves the steady, plodding pace of Taurus and blasts right into Gemini, capping off the week with some seriously intense mental and communicative activity.
Now, understanding the why behind the midweek confusion you're going to feel is absolutely crucial. Right in the middle of all those positive transits, we get hit with a Sun-Neptune square. It essentially covers the atmosphere in this thick psychological fog, completely exaggerating our expectations and seriously tempting us to just escape reality entirely rather than actually dealing with it.
So, how exactly do we handle this? Well, here is your practical toolkit for surviving the fog. First, verify all facts before making any decisions. Seriously, double-check everything. Next, do not be deceived by appearances or grand promises. If it looks way too good to be true this week, you know what? It probably is. Third, you really need to fight that urge to escape reality. And most importantly, and I can't stress this enough, ground your spiritual dreams into practical steps. That last point is your absolute lifeline for navigating this successfully.
To make it through that midweek haze, we've got to look at two very different incoming forces. On Thursday, we get this beautiful grounding energy from the Venus-Saturn trine. This is the energy of long-term trust, maturity, and serious commitment in honest relationships. You can absolutely leverage this mature energy to anchor yourself against the incoming restless energy of Mars preparing to enter Gemini. Because that Mars shift, it's going to create a massive surge in mental hyperactivity and a rapid exchange of ideas. By leaning into the solid, grounding relationships of Venus-Saturn, you can steady your mind against that restless, buzzing mental tide. Okay, so we've looked at the big macro transits, but the real question is, how will this solstice shift, the complex relationship dynamics, and that tricky midweek fog specifically impact your zodiac sign? Let's get right into the personalized elemental forecasts. Fire signs forecast: Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. For our fire signs, this week is really defined by channeling your inner reflections into some bold career and partnership moves. For Aries, your attention is kind of split between home and work initially, but midweek, that fog actually forces you to clarify your priorities and take a much bolder stance in your career. Emotionally, you're going to need some quiet retreat early on, but expect a massive surge of passionate vitality by Wednesday. Now for Leo, group work shines brightly at the start of the week, but you'll really need to step back midweek to quietly strategize.
It's time to end roles that just don't align with you anymore, even if you kind of want to hold on to them. Health-wise, protect your energy from draining social circles. And Sagittarius, the spotlight is glaringly on your contracts and partnerships. You are deeply focused on fairness. In love, you're navigating some intense power dynamics, and you absolutely must set boundaries to prevent physical exhaustion. So the crucial point for fire signs is balancing your natural outward ambition with the deep emotional maintenance required this week.
Moving on to the Earth signs forecast: Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn.
Our Earth signs are going to be deeply impacted by a major shift from mental busyness to a heavy craving for practical stability. Taurus starts with a high mental buzz, but very quickly you're going to want to retreat, maybe work from home, and focus on long-term investments in property or family. Love for Taurus right now is all about seeking safe, intimate conversations and practical acts, like, say, cooking a really good meal for someone, just keeping those steady routines going. Virgo, you're facing huge demands on your public performance early on, but by midweek, you have got to redefine success to prioritize your mental health over external metrics. Active stress relief, like stretching or yoga, is basically mandatory to avoid physical burnout. And for Capricorn, you've got this huge burden of organizational tasks on your plate. You'll need to rely on crucial midweek partnerships and negotiations to get through it. Personally, you're balancing duty versus equality in relationships, and you really need a deep emotional detox to address any physical signs of stress. So for all three Earth signs, meticulously managing your nervous systems against heavy professional demands is the absolute key. Next up, the air signs forecast: Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. With Mars approaching Gemini by the end of the week, the communicative sectors for our air signs are going to be highly activated. It builds into this explosive mix of creativity and a strict demand for work-life balance. Gemini, you have some serious, courageous momentum right now. Midweek is your time to reevaluate your financial worth and ask for better conditions. You start the week with high flirtatious energy, but that quickly pivots into a search for true emotional safety. Make sure you balance all that movement with some actual rest. Libra, you are dealing with heavy daily tasks, but you can totally transform them by seeking broader meaning. Expect to gain some well-deserved public recognition midweek. For your health and romance, intellectual, philosophical chats are highlighted, but you really need disciplined aesthetics, like yoga, to balance your body and mind. And Aquarius, you are absolutely craving creative, innovative projects right now. Routine is literally going to kill your vibe. Later in the week, there's a heavy focus on collaboration and negotiation. Your love life starts off highly romantic and playful, but shifts into a need for shared, healthy routines with your partner. And finally, the water signs forecast: Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Because the solstice actually occurs in Cancer, this is an incredibly potent, emotionally resonant week for this entire elemental group. Cancer, you're doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work. You have to navigate that early fog to emerge with a clarified, brand-new professional identity. Emotionally, taking time for deep solitude is going to lead to a much warmer, more confident presence by the weekend. Just respect your physical boundaries to avoid stress. Scorpio, your focus is heavily on shared resources, taxes, and contracts, before pivoting towards travel or learning for some broader meaning. In love, intense intimacy might bring up a little of that famous jealousy, but it's truly an opportunity for deep healing. And honestly, getting outdoors for some adventure will drastically improve your vitality. Pisces, your big task is fusing your incredible imagination with routine work. You're balancing domestic security with a huge desire for creative output. Focus on family nostalgia, but please integrate that playful inspiration into strict health fundamentals. Do not ignore your diet and sleep. Ultimately, water signs are tasked with confronting deep internal fears this week and transforming them into grounded, practical wisdom. So, what does this all mean for you? Well, the cosmic weather this week is essentially a profound test of balance. On one hand, you are anchoring the intense, home-focused emotional waves of Cancer season. But on the other hand, you are actively refusing to get lost in that midweek Neptunian fog. Structuring this knowledge practically, figuring out when to push for connection and when to just stop and verify the facts in front of you, that is absolutely the key to having a successful week. I want to leave you with this powerful thought derived from the background Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Embody your spiritual dreams in practical and courageous steps. It's simply not enough to just dream about the life you want this week. You actually have to do the work to make it real. So what is the one courageous step you're avoiding right now? Think about that. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I literally cannot wait to unpack the stars with you again next week.